Guys, I need you to listen, especially our brothers from Central, and I need you to listen very well. Nyanza is not going to vote in Ruto. Okay, it is not going to vote in Ruto. The next president has to come from Central for only one reason, and I said this in my last videos. There's a video I made where I said this, and I said that the last president has to come from Central simply for one reason and one reason alone. The reason is that the only region that votes as a block, and I don't just mean as a block, right? They have very high numbers of voters, is Central. This is the only region where if you look at the population and rationalize that against the number of voters, it matches very well. If I know that, you must know that for any president to win in Kenya today, Central has to back you up as a block. And it is for two reasons. Number one, you either win because you won fair and square based on the number of voters who voted for you, or you have an entire region to play with if you want to rig. Okay? You have an entire region to play with if you want to rig. Moi knew that, and Ruto also knows that. And so the only way that can be disrupted is if you split that block into two. If you split that block into two, and how do you do that? Number one, you crucify one of their own. After crucifying one of their own, that one of their own becomes extremely popular in Central because they have to rally behind one of their own. And why do you think you do that? It is simply because of one reason and one reason alone: the Uhuru factor. Everything that Uhuru predicted turned out to be true. Uhuru sounded like a prophet. It is either his words were curses, because when he spoke them, everything he said has turned out as he said it was going to turn out. And so he is now very popular and held very highly in Central. Uhuru was going to be a kingmaker in 2027. So throw in the Gachagua factor. Get him out of power. Let him go to hospital and spend 2 nights and say, this thing is highly stressful. I'm being crucified. He gets followers from Central. You split that Uhuru factor into two. Then what is the next step? Gachagua starts his own party. After starting his own party, guess what he's going to do? He's going to run for presidency. I'm telling you, you'll see. He will run for presidency, knowing very well that the only region that will vote for him is Central Province. And why must he run for presidency? Because just like me, there are other political pundits who have actually realized that the next president must come from Central, so that the entire Central votes for him as a block, number one. Number two, the Uhuru factor will push and propel that person into leadership. Sometimes they think Jimmy Wanjigi doesn't know it, but it might just be him. And all the other players who are running for leadership will fall behind this person. But now, when Gachagua runs for presidency, what will happen? It will mean that he already has a following that will die with him regardless. That following will die with him regardless, because he will not be a Ruto person. He will be his own person. In 2027, if you want to lose in any constituency, and I mean across Kenya, including Kalenjin land, trust me, be in a Ruto party. Because even in Kalenjin land, there's going to emerge a different force. And I want you guys to all watch Kanu. Kanu might actually be the next Kalenjin party that takes many other seats in Kalenjin land. Because right now they are missing Moi very much. And if Gideon Moi is very clever, this is the time. This is the time to stop fearing. If you don't want to speak yourself, get your Kanu diehards and get them to start going around Kalenjin and selling Kanu. And trust me, in 2027, it will be ready to be a party that formulates the bloc that will get this regime out. So when I say these things, I get a lot of people telling me, stay out of central politics, stay out of Kikuyu politics, the Luos. Number one, it is not the Luos who put this K1 into power. It is not them. It is your vote, you. And I keep telling you that, so stop saying such things. And I have to say these things so that you don't make the same mistake. Because if I don't say these things, you, next thing you'll do is go and vote Gachagua. And that whole block that is going to support Gachagua for presidency will be used for various very bad things. And before you know it, we're going to have another Bomas case. A repetition of what happened in 2022. And what happened in 2007. So be vigilant, be woke, understand one thing. The game that is being played by Gachagua and Ruto is the same game Ruto played against Uhuru. Mercy, sympathy, that's what he went selling. He went selling. Actually not selling, he went buying mercy and sympathy for a whole lot of, you can see what it is now. I don't know what to call it. And so understand one thing, that I have to tell you these things, that your vote is a very, very important weapon. You cannot just throw it anywhere. Number two, protecting your vote is one of the most important things. After you vote, there is no going home. You sit there and make sure that that guy reports the right thing. And all the fellas in Nairobi, everyone in Nairobi, if you live in Nairobi, we will need to go to Bomas. All of us. It doesn't matter whether you're middle class, lower middle class, or in the lower echelons of this society, or the wealthy. Trust me, we will have to go to Bomas to protect our votes. Regardless of whether there is a military, we will surround. We have to be 4 million strong surrounding Bomas to protect our votes. That is the only way things are going to be done right. But for the guys in Central, this video is for you specifically, because you are very special people in this country. You are featured, heavily participated in the independence of this country, and we all recognize that, right? I think you're the only tribe that shed the most blood and suffered the most. And there must have been a reason why that happened. We recognize that. So the only thing I can tell you as one who is a Kenyan with roots from Nyanza, where my forefathers came from, I can tell you that I know my people. They will not vote for Ruto. Those people vote with their brains. The only reason why they've always backed Raila is because of one thing. There's consistency in his nature. What has confused us all is what he's doing now in this Kenya Kwanza government. But one day perhaps he's going to explain himself. But I can tell you, he will not lead his people to vote for Ruto. If that's what Ruto is thinking, it will not happen. It won't. If it was a case, Uhuru would have castigated him by now. Kalonzo would have castigated him by now. They know what they're doing. But we need you to stay together. We need you, one of you who is capable, to help us kick this guy out. Without you as a bloc, it is useless, it is hopeless. You'll be split. That split region is going to be rigged, and we are going to go back to where we were sometime this year, like now. Your vote is very important. Know that and vote wisely.